You're listening to Centered and Sent, a podcast of Impact Church, encouraging disciples of Jesus to center their lives on the gospel and to be sent with a kingdom purpose.
Pastor Terry, how's it going?
Hey, Brandon.
Yeah, Pastor Brandon and Pastor Terry here, and today we are going to be chatting about something that I think we could all use a little help with.
What is that?
Time management.
Time management.
And a lot of times you think, well, that's a good life skill. Does it matter as a follower of Jesus that we practice good time management? What do you think?
Well, short answer, yes. A wholehearted yes, definitely, Brandon. It is so important because I believe time, and the time that we have here on this earth, is a gift from the Lord, honestly. We never know what our last day may be. Not to be morbid or anything, but that's reality of life, right? And so every day has been entrusted to us, I believe. This precious gospel has been entrusted to us. And really, I mean, Ephesians 5:16 specifically says that, redeem the time that has been given to you, for the days are evil. And we just don't know how little time we have until we get to a certain circumstance that we realize that, oh man, I've wasted a lot of my time in the past. So yes, that's one of the main reasons why it's important for us to really consider how to manage our time wisely. But I also want to share a couple of points where time management is actually a heart issue. And when we have a right mentality of it, we are actually loving others more. We're loving ourselves more, and we're actually loving and honoring God more too.
Isn't that interesting that just what we do with our time can be an issue of loving our neighbor, loving others. It can be an issue of respecting your calling and yourself, and can also be an issue of worship to the Lord.
Yeah, imagine that.
Yeah, it's really amazing. So, so let's dive a little practically in here. You say like loving others, respecting our time, worshiping the Lord. Dissect one of those for us.
Yeah, and again, just like I mentioned before about how the time given to us here on this earth is limited, right, for reasons. That means the same thing for other people as well. It's like we don't have all the time in the world as much as we want to. One of the reasons why I came into ministry was unfortunately a premature passing and death of a friend of mine, and that was really one of the biggest kickstarts to me to realize, hey, I do not have all the time in the world to share the gospel hope of Jesus with people. And that was definitely one of the biggest catalysts that pushed me into ministry and say, I want to dedicate my entire life for this gospel, not just a part of it. So with that said, consider that. Remember that since our time here is limited, that doesn't just include you, but includes people in your life. It includes people in your life, and you are honoring them. And you are making it when you are intentional, right? When you actually intentionally schedule a time with them with a purpose and a goal, not just to go and hang out and chill. Those are good. Those are fine. But to be intentional in just saying, hey, can we meet up so we can read the word together, pray over with one another, be mentored or keep each other accountable. It's like using that time, not just to meet up and use it for anything, but really, hey, how can you use that time with a person to intentionally seek after Christ together and enjoy Him together?
Wow. So knowing that other people's time is limited, we don't know how much time they have, so we should use our time wisely to love them, whether that is sharing the gospel, evangelism, or just spending quality time.
Yeah, I presided over a funeral recently, and it really, I used that as an opportunity to share just the abruptness of how life can end. And it does, sadly, it gets to this point, but again, it takes death sometimes to really wake up certain people to realize that no matter how hard we try, outside of Jesus Christ, you can't change that. You cannot change the concept of death, right? So even that, I hope it's a catalyst for a lot of people to recognize, hey, our time here is limited, so as well as your friends and your loved ones. What are you using the time for?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
So how is time management good for us?
Yeah. Well, in respecting to others for their time, as you are making schedules and so forth, it really is this idea that since you have been given time, since you have been given a certain amount of days here on this earth, we also need to remember that God did not put us on this earth for no reason. We were made in his image for a specific reason. That is to go worship and enjoy him forever and ever. We are to reflect his glory, or to reflect his goodness, all these things. So we have a purpose here on this earth. And if the time to fulfill that purpose is limited, I don't know about you, but I want to use every single hour given to me to the best for the glory of God, but also for how God will be using me. So that question stems back to the foundation of, hey, do you recognize that you are called by God? You have been gifted with time here on this earth, but you also have been entrusted, as many of the apostles and the disciples in Scripture shows, like you have been entrusted with this gospel. Go and preach it. We have this great commission to go out and make disciples. Are we doing that? Are we actually using the gift that God has given to us for his glory and ultimately at the end? If we're not doing that, in short, to be blunt, we are saying that the commissioning of God, the calling of God, is a secondary, tertiary, not important aspect of our life. And that is, sadly, a poor testimony of our relationship with God. It's like, no, I would have it the other way around. I want every single minute of my life to honor and glorify the Lord. And if that's the case, then I want to do whatever it takes to organize, manage, schedule, using every single minute given to me effectively for the sake of the gospel.
And that's something that really shows us our time is as precious as our money, right?
Yeah.
That we should manage our time in the same way we would manage our money. That if we didn't have it, we would freak out, right? So let's talk a little bit specifically. So first of all, I'm going to ask you this question. What are some evidences that maybe I'm not managing my time well?
Well, in short,
and try not to call me out. Yeah. That, okay?
In short, it's one of those things where you look in retrospect, and you have to be honest with yourself too, and you look back. I think that's one of the easiest ways to look back and seeing how we're using our time. Have we grown in any way? Have we impacted the lives of other people? Have our lives been impacted in any way for the sake of the gospel? I often challenge my church members to consider, look back 1 year even. Look back 1 year and ask yourself, and try to summarize your past year in a spiritual matter. How have you grown spiritually in the past year? What is one or two words that would describe how you have grown in the past year? If you don't have that, I would say that, in short, you may be living pretty much an aimless life right now with no specific goal or whatnot. We can also look ahead. I like to also challenge people, hey, how would you like to grow? Where would you like to see yourself spiritually 2 years from now? Because again, if you don't have that, you don't know what to do next, or you know what the next steps are. So what are you actually going to be doing to fulfill that goal 2 years from now too? I would say that if you don't have specific goals in mind, it shows that you are unfortunately kind of just living an aimless life right now. And that is, in my opinion, wasting time.
Yeah, no doubt. So practically, what can we do that would help us make better use of our time here? You have any practical tips for us?
Yes. Number one, use a calendar. Number two, use a calendar.
Oh, man.
And then number three, use a calendar.
A calendar. If only there was one that I carried around in my pocket with me all the time.
Yes, apparently there's a couple of apps I've seen.
You know, one of the worst activities I was ever given was in college. And actually, it was in a seminary class. And they gave me a week. It was Monday through Sunday. and it was divided up by hour of each day, and we had to take colored pencils and color in a color for each activity that we did each day, so that we could visualize and actually see how we were spending our time. And man, that convicted me. So like, I realized that I eat and sleep so much. Like, so much of my time is spent eating, sleeping.
Whether you eat or sleep, do all things for the glory
Hey,
of God, right?
man, thanks for making
that's
me feel
that's
better.
a nice one. There you go.
So a calendar. I
Yes,
should just
use a calendar, and even that it takes time to get used to any habit that you want to build up. It will take 30, 40 days or so. I recommend people literally put it on your front screen, your home screen on your cell phone, so that every single time you open up, which we do often, don't we, you will see your calendar. We have the alerts on, whatever it may be, but build up a habit of using a calendar and just making sure that you're referring back to it to make sure, hey, this is what I'm going to be doing, and this is what I'm planning on doing. This is who I'm going to meet. It just grows that intentionality, which kind of leads to my second point of that is the reason why a calendar is so important is, as you showed with your little example, it does show us how we use our time, whether or not we are using it effectively. And hopefully it is a wake-up call when we see Monday through Friday work 9 to 5 and then nothing else, right? It just goes to show, honestly, hey, maybe I do actually have more time than I realize. And what am I actually using my time with? When I think back yesterday, what did you do last night? I played games for 4 hours, or I binged on Netflix for, just 5 episodes or so. Hopefully that does, in prayer, show us some type of conviction that, hey, maybe I should redeem my time more wisely. Yep.
That's good. So let's talk a little bit about, those are just some practical things. I know one thing that's helped me too is setting a timer. So even like when I'm doing a task. So if I do want to sit down, turn my brain off and turn the switch on or whatever and play a video game, I'll set a timer, And what's great too is even on my phone, I can set timers on my phone.
That's right.
It'll shut certain apps off at certain times and help me accomplish. It goes back to what you said, accomplish the goals, right? Because if you don't have goals, you're not going to manage your time well because your time is just a black hole.
Yeah, and that brings up a point of how if we do have a black hole, actually your first initial step is go back to your relationship with Christ. Because I believe that if we just continue to grow in our love for the Lord, and we continue to see his calling for us of going out, making disciples, serving his church, serving the communities, and so forth, our love for Christ naturally fills up our schedule. I mean, that's what I've seen in my ministry, in my personal walk with him. That may be a commentary that if we don't have these type of things in our calendar, then maybe we need to go back to the Lord first,
right.
And really recognize, hey, what is my calling? What is my identity in Christ? Really mean in that.
Yeah, so, let Jesus be the Lord of your calendar. Don't let your calendar be the Lord of Jesus.
Sounds good to me.
Right. Just practically, maybe a reason we don't manage our time very well is because we don't have a lot to do. Maybe we're a student, we study 10 hours a week, we've got a 15, 20-hour a week job, and then the rest of our time, we don't know what to do with it, right? What would you suggest?
Well, there's, I think, nothing better than the body of Christ, the body of believers, where, when you intentionally spend time with other people, sinful people, broken people, redeemed in Christ, you will have plenty to do, in short. That's what I say, Brendan. I say it all the time. It's like when going back, when you love the Lord, and the Lord puts you in situations and he brings people in your life that interrupt your life, right? And you see their needs, you invest into them, you sit down with them, you have coffee with them, and you see how broken they are as well. Their need for the gospel, their need for Jesus, it again naturally just puts an agenda and a schedule for you. Because in your love for Christ and through your love for Christ, your love for other people, guess what happens? You're going to make a goal in your heart and put that on the calendar and say, you know what? This person needs food. I am going to go deliver food for them. This person is sick. They just had surgery. You know what? In the conviction of the Spirit, I want to go and serve this family. And the more and more you do that, it just snowballs. My a good problem to have, is that I wish I had more time to serve other people. And I boast in the Lord in that because, the harvest is plentiful, workers are few. That is a reality. But I thank the Lord that I don't have to look for things to do now because through just faithfulness, because of his love for me, these things just naturally come. And I'm just reminded, I preached on this last week. Peter in Acts chapter 9, he was traveling. It says he was traveling to and fro from the people's towns and cities and so forth. And in the case of one person, Aeneas, people heard that Peter was in town. He happened to be in town. And so what do? They heard of Peter. They heard of what awesome things that he was doing in Christ. They called and reached out to him. So he already developed this reputation of just like, hey, here's this person who he is healing and doing miracles of the Lord. He had the reputation. That is something I think is worthy of striving after, not to please people, not for our own glory, of course, but for the sake of Christ and saying like, hey, here's a person that I can depend on. Here's a person that I can reach out to. Is that you? Is that who you are? Is that something that you're working towards? And if that is, don't worry, your schedule will build up real quick.
I love it. What if I'm too busy? What if it's not that I can't find stuff to do? I have found too much to do.
Yeah.
I am studying nonstop in school. I am working 40 hours a week and commuting 15 hours a week. Like what? How do I manage my time if I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum?
Yeah, and that's hard because each case is going to be different here and there. But some points that I will make is there is definitely that one aspect of proper balance, work balance. This is something that I like to train young pastors with quite often because often we like to be workaholics, myself included, and we forget about our marriages and families and so forth. So definitely there's that one extreme that we need to seek counsel for and accountability of. I will also say this, especially as a Northern Virginia native where we are busy, the more and more, as I get older, the more and more I observe people's busy schedules. In short, we have fallen into this trap that believing that there are certain non-negotiables in our life. Believing that like, no, I can't give this up. I cannot give this up. This is way too important. This is who I am, whatnot. Brandon, the reality is there are some of those things that you can give up. Again, this is why even from the get-go we're saying time management is a heart issue. It's a heart issue. And that is something that I challenge and encourage all listeners to really think about. It's like, you know what? When we consider the cost of discipleship, when Jesus says that you need to hate your mother and father, your brother and sister, and yes, even deny yourself, that is the continuous wrestling point for Christians to realize, hey, if I really do want to grow, I must let the Lord prune away certain things in my life to cut those thick branches so that I may actually bear fruit. And I believe in Northern Virginia especially, perhaps some of our idols are some of our dreams, some of our agendas that we've been kind of pushed into due to expectations, but maybe it is a time to just sit down with the Lord and really stop and think like, Lord, it is difficult for me to give this up, but if it does result in your kingdom, if it does result in people coming to you and being saved, then is it not worth it?
That's right.
Yeah.
When I was the busiest is actually when I was the loneliest in Northern Virginia. When in Northern Virginia, I was the busiest when I was the loneliest because I didn't want to press into my loneliness.
Yeah.
So I just made myself really busy.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably a common theme in Northern Virginia. So just kind of, as we wrap this up, I know one thing that you're really big on is biblical community. So what role does community play in our time management?
That's going to be another podcast episode, Brandon. But you're correct. Biblical community, especially as we have hopefully seen in this past COVID experience of just isolation, quarantines, lockdowns, and so forth. I hope one lesson that we have learned is really the impact actual one-on-one direct communication has upon the hearts of people. There is a difference. Let me make that clear. There is a difference between meeting someone face-to-face, touching them, hearing them directly, not through a speaker, even smelling them. It doesn't matter. There's a difference. And really, the more and more we see hands-on directly the tears of people who are broken, who are in need of help, when we hear their emotions, when we see the tears fall from their faces, that does impact, I believe, the hearts of believers. And again, like I was saying about the non-negotiables, it is exactly in those scenarios where we realize the Lord is using this to say, hey, it's time to draw closer to me, and it's time to serve these people. Yes, even if it means denying yourself as well. And so that's definitely one emotional aspect of it. Others, of course, is the accountability aspect of it. You got mentors hopefully coming in, telling you and teaching you, and even, being blunt with you, saying, hey, you know what? Hey, Brandon, watching 7 episodes on Netflix of your favorite TV show.
Easy.
I'm sorry, Disney Plus. May not be the best use of our time. And you know what, Brandon? I need that too. There are times where I am exhausted and I do just want to veg out. But how great it is when I get a phone call from you, when I get a phone call from my brothers and say, hey, there's a lunch with pastors going on. There's a service opportunity here, right? And it's like, the funny thing is, in my physical tiredness, when I hear those words, here is an opportunity to glorify the Lord. I know that sounds so ideal, but it's true. It's like, it just energizes me up again. And I'm like, well, time to get out of this couch and go and serve the Lord again. That, I believe, is a blessing of the community.
Wow. I love it. Well, I tell you what, we've covered a lot today about time management. Most importantly, the biblical purpose of it, the reason behind it, and how it actually is a hard issue, which makes it worthy for us to address, right? So I know I'm motivated. I'm ready to go conquer the world for Jesus. I'm like, what am I doing sitting here in a studio recording a podcast right now? Let's go do it. So Pastor Terry, thanks so much for your time that you are giving to us today. And thank you guys so much for listening.